I'm so happy to be speaking with you today. As I understand, you've had a journey that was not expected when you were in Israel a few weeks ago. Can you start by telling us what you were doing in Israel to begin with, why you were there?
Yes, hi, thank you so much for doing this with me. And, my intention of going to Israel this time, which I go often, was to first week to be in Tel Aviv and the second week to be in Jerusalem in order to meet a few of my patients that are soldiers, other group of therapists that I supervise, and also I had to give some conferences on around trauma and post-traumatic growth. And also I had a bar mitzvah of a very close friend. So it was more personal, professional. I have family there. So it was a lot going on.
Wow. How many days beforehand were you there before, if you will, for a better reason, all hell broke loose?
Yes, so I was there a week before, like I got there on June 6th. So that week I was actually in Tel Aviv for the first week, and it was really special. I got to really meet with a lot of groups of people. A lot of things were going on. Like I said, every day it's like a month in Israel because there was so much going on. It was beautiful to meet with a group of Nova survivors that get together every week in a social setting. I also met with a group of students from colleges, from American colleges in exchange, that they do 3 months of internship in startups in Israel. I also met with an organization called Estar that maps the social and mental health services in Israel after October 7th. So I was meeting with the heads of all these organizations. It was fantastic. We did a lot of talking about collaborating and doing different things. I was also meeting with some of my patients that I see throughout the year that I got to see in person, which is great, including not only soldiers, but also Nova survivors, but also a psychologist that I work with since October 7th that I never met in person. So I got to meet them in person for the first time. So when the first dinner that we had, the group of therapists that I work with in a clinic, they invited me for dinner. So we're sitting there on the street in the middle of Tel Aviv. All of a sudden, the waiter comes and says, "In 10 minutes, there's going to be an alarm. So I'm preparing you, just so you know, you have to run to the mamad, to the miklat, which is the refuge, the room that it's like the bomb shelter." And I all of a sudden see everybody, they're all looking at me and they're like, "Okay, Edith, be prepared." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And this was an alarm that was coming from the Houthis that were attacking Israel. So this was a regular experience for everybody in Israel, which means that this is something that everybody got used to it and I've never experienced. So they were all kind of like laughing at me, saying, "Hey, looks like you're getting trained in this for the first time." So in 10 minutes, everybody went into the room. It was like 150 people from all different restaurants, and it was going down the stairs to a little dark room, and I couldn't even go down the stairs because I started to have like claustrophobia. So some of my friends stayed with me at the top of the stairs. 15 minutes later, everybody was sitting again at their tables, continuing the conversation as if nothing happened. The streets were full again. Life was normal as usual. Everybody back to business. It's like nothing happened. That was my first experience there.
Oh my God. Can you explain to us what, I mean, you were at the top of the stairs, but for 150 people, how big would you say the bomb shelter is?
I couldn't even see it because I couldn't even manage to get downstairs. So it was people were coming, but there are all these kind of rooms all over, everywhere. So people manage to get to these sheltered rooms. They have to be like 5 minutes away from everybody, 10 minutes. Like you really have to have a short period of time that you're going to run to these shelters, these bomb shelters, in order to be protected. So everybody kind of knows where they are. And people are constantly being informed about where they are. There's an app on the phone that tells you where the shelters are. There's an app on the phone that calls on the sirens, so you get it on your phone also, like it sounds on the phone every time the sirens go off. All of that I learned that day and on, that I had to be on top of this stuff, and I had to have this information if I wanted to be in Israel for these 2 weeks.
Adi, what comes up for me too is here is somebody who works with post-traumatic,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So what do you think about the people who spend time in bomb shelters and then go back and finish their dinner?
That,
Like,
yes.
how did you speak to them about it? Where do they put that? Where are they at in life?
I think it's like part of what happens in the Israeli society, that it normalizes this experience because of the need to survive. So this is how it happens. People have integrated this experience into their everyday lives, and they're able to go on with life, normalizing this level of stress, which for me was a lot. But for everybody else that lives in Israel, it's like, okay, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is how we function. This is how we roll. Interesting how the body adjusts to these experiences, and how Israel is not the only country that has that experiences. I mean, I can tell you, coming from Venezuela, I know in Venezuela they have the same experience. It's been normalized, the level of stress, the level of trauma, the understanding that anytime something can happen and you just go along with it and then you continue life.
Wow. Is it a compartmentalization of that aspect of yourself that you normalize?
It's a compartmentalized, and it's also numbing, and
Numbing.
also dissociating, and it's also mm, becoming a little bit desensitized with what happens. So all of those are very good tools to deal with trauma in that moment.
Well, it's interesting how you're mentioning how your friends were able to do that, but I know not only your little stint in the bomb shelter, but you were not to know what was to come for you. So
Yeah.
can you take us through what happened after you kind of finished your dinner that night?
That
What
was
happened?
fine. Then the next day, I went to Jerusalem, and because I was going to give these talks to 50 people, 60 people, I think it was. And all of a sudden, we were supposed to have a Shabbat dinner at the hotel, and we get the sirens. And this was really the first time that we hear, I think it was Friday morning or Thursday night, that the war was declared between Israel and Iran. And this was it. And the reaction was like, that's it, we're at war, there's no going back. Some people were, looking forward to this war. Some other people were a little worried about it. There was no predicting what was going to happen, but I learned that there was like a basement that was a shelter, and there were like little rooms in each floor, which I never got to because of, I was feeling too claustrophobic to go to rooms, and I didn't feel protected enough. I wanted to go down to the basement that was all made out of stones,
Yeah.
and so that was more safe for me. And I became an expert in going down the stairs, 3, 4 floors, going up and going down in the middle of the night many times. I became an expert in identifying the sirens on my phone. Also, the first time it happened, it was like 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, and I was asleep and I didn't hear it. I slept through the whole thing because I'm a good sleeper. So I slept through the whole thing, and I was in shock because when I woke up at 8 in the morning and everybody was telling me, like, what are you talking about? So I had a whole strategy of my neighbors to knock on my door, my friends to call me on the phone, my cousin from Tel Aviv to also, we coordinated efforts. Every time there was a siren, we would call each other. So this was my routine every night, to be going to sleep dressed, to have my passport ready, my bag with food and water and my essentials, and to know that, where my shoes are, where everything else is. In any minute, I would have to wake up or get up and grab all these things and go down the stairs and then start calling everybody to make sure everybody's also down or everybody's protected, the people with me, the people far away from me. I even had like my family in the US would call me at those times because everybody would know where the sirens would happen. So this was checking throughout the night, every night. It was like that.
How did you start? Here's somebody who teaches all over the world, has a #1 bestseller book on trauma, and yet it appears that you were really experiencing your own trauma for the first time.
Well, I've experienced trauma before, many traumas. This was a different kind because I've never been
Right.
at war. So very interesting. One thing was I started to notice my levels of anxiety going very high. So I used some techniques that I know. For example, I did some breathing techniques. I put some music that was calming for me. I started to, for example, not look out the window to look at the missiles going up because that wasn't helpful for me. I stopped looking at the news, like zero news on TV, like I didn't want to see that. I would just check on my phone. Um, I was making sure that I would eat like very comfort things that I knew were making me feel good. I would stay in touch with people. These were all the things that I teach all the time. Like I was putting it on to myself. And even with that, I was feeling a little anxious, but I was doing good. I was doing good. I felt the anxiety mostly at night before
Oh,
going
yeah.
to sleep. Not so much because I was afraid, but because of I was feeling trapped. Like I had no way of knowing if I was gonna leave, not leave, if I could go, if I could not go, how was I gonna go, when was I gonna go? Everybody was worried about their tickets to fly, the next day, and everything was canceled and canceled and canceled and canceled, and things were getting worse and worse and worse. So that level of uncertainty, I think it's the hardest of all. It wasn't so much the fear. I was more worried about other people that were going through difficulty, but the fear was not so much so intense as the level of uncertainty. And
Mm.
that's what got me to become more anxious of not knowing when and how I was going to be able to move around. The other thing, like I'm a very free person and not being able to get out of the hotel at all, because if the sirens get you in the middle of the street, where are you going to go? So
The hotels say that, like we're in the middle of war. Like, do they put like things on your door, like "Do not leave your room" or "Go if
no,
you hear the
no,
siren, go
no,
down"?
no. The hotel would like have people constantly checking, do you need water? Do you need something?
Oh,
But,
wow.
but the whole country is so well prepared that every app, every announce, everything was already in place. Like this is not the first time. Everybody knows what to do. Everything is prepared. We ended up having Shabbat in the shelter, in the refuge. It's like, and the food was, some food was given there, like some bread and wine, whatever. And I was trying to make light of it with my group. So I started to give, bread, and I said, let's all pray together. And some people were like, doing the blessing of the wine. Like in some way, we were trying to make it meaningful. It was only, this was the first time, imagine, like, and we didn't even know there was going to be every day like this.
Well, let's speak about that. So that's like day 1 or day 2.
Yeah.
What can you tell us when you say about the uncertainty? What was the thinking, doing? How were you able to handle the escalation of the war? What started to get put in your mind, and what did you do?
So one of the things that I started to think about very rationally is like, okay, I'm here. Let me see what would be my plan to go out. Let me start, talking to people that I know, some options. So I was very rational and very like pragmatic. That was one way that I dealt with it. That was very good. Another thing is that I become very like useful and helpful. So that's another way for me to go through crisis. I become like the person that can handle crisis and start helping everybody else that got me to jump on ambulances when people were be calling 911 and going to the emergency rooms of the hospital, Shaare Zedek. So I would spend the night there helping people.
How did you do that? Did you know somebody who how did you do
No,
that?
somebody from the hotel called 911, so they asked me because I could translate in Hebrew, in Spanish, in English, whatever, and because I'm a doctor, I could help. So they're like, "Can you come? You come with us?" And I'm like, "Of course, I'm gonna come with you." So I would get in the ambulance. I get to the ER. Then once I'm in the ER, and one of the person already got taken care of, there were other people that needed help, and I'm like, "I'm already here. I might as well help the other people." So I started helping other people, translating, giving blankets, carrying their things around if they needed to go one thing. Then we had the siren inside the ER, because the siren. So people in the ER, we all had to gather into one little place, and I was like already getting like, oh my God, I'm gonna get claustrophobic again, And then, but everything went well. And I continued working until I realized, you know what? It's 3 in the morning. I need to take care of myself. I cannot spend all of my energy, which I tend to do, into like helping and helping, which keeps me entertained and it keeps me feeling very useful and it's super helpful for me. Like I feel empowered, I feel good, I feel like I'm actively doing something, which I know for a fact that really helps people not to develop PTSD so much. So I'm loving it, except the fact that I know that I have to wake up in 2, 3 hours and so nobody who's going to take care of me. You know what I mean? So I couldn't spend all the energy into helping others. And I kept having that struggle all the time. Like I had people calling me. This was like my main thing, the struggle between helping me and helping others. I constantly had that. Like, for example, I had mothers. Some of my friends from Miami had their children in Israel. So they would call me, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you take your kid? And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get out myself. Like, how am I going to help others? And if I
But
put,
what was happening at that time, Adi? Just first of all, Kip, for people who don't know, who were you when the ambulance and stuff, where were you? Did a bomb go off? Like, were you in the middle of when they attacked?
no,
Where,
it was more like I was at the hotel the whole time. I couldn't even get out of the hotel. I barely got out because it was my protected. I was pretty much in the basement of the hotel for a week. But some of the people got very anxious. They had a panic attack. They had
oh,
something. They were feeling bad, so they called the ambulance, and I
got
went
it.
into the ambulance.
Okay.
But as things were developing, people
Yeah.
started to get panicked. And how do I get out of Israel? The airports are all closed. They've been closed for 2 weeks, 3 weeks now.
Mm.
Um, so so everybody was calling, everybody was sending information how to get, alternatives, who would help, what would get out. So that's how other people were asking me if I can help their kids.
Oh my God.
Like, of course I want to help their kids, but I need to help myself first so I can get out. And I'm like, should I start helping all these kids and maybe make a group and bring them with me, which is what I would normally do. This is my thinking. And then I'm like, no, I can't do this. I need to save myself. And this was my thing every time. Do I stay in the ER of the hospital and work the whole day, even though, people already thought I was working there? To the expense of my energy? Do I bring a whole group of kids with me, even though I don't even know how I'm gonna get out? Do I stay in Israel really for a week, for a month, for 2 months to help everybody, or do I leave? And this was constantly, even when I was leaving, even when I left, even when I finally got into some sort of airplane to get back to the US, I was crying because I was feeling so guilty for leaving.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about you leaving. What was the strategy? Can you share with us what exactly you did? Because it sounds harrowing. It sounds like a Netflix movie.
It was.
So what was your thought? When did you escape? What did you do?
So I was very privileged in all of this, and I'm very thankful. I mean, I was with a group of 50, 60 people, and we had even President Herzog come to talk to us. We had Mike Huckabee come to talk to us. We had Ambassador Herzog and his wife come to talk to us. We even have Rachel Pauline Goldberg and his wife and her husband come talk to us. So, I mean, I was in a pretty VIP kind of group. And within this group, people were looking at alternatives. So one alternative was crossing through the border of Egypt, uh, Akbar, through the Sharm el-Sheikh, or other options. There was the option of crossing through Jordan in Allenby crossing, and there was another in Sheikh crossing, and one other one. There were like three options. There was the option of driving all the way to Haifa, to the port of Haifa, get a boat to Cyprus, and then from Cyprus get some flights. People would do that. In the meantime, we would hear from Ron DeSantis. I wanted to send 5 airplanes to Cyprus. In the meantime, I heard Birthright kids. There were 1,500 kids in Birthright that were trying to get out. In the meantime, I was hearing, like, the El Al tickets. We all had El Al tickets. How do we get postponing and postponing and postponing? And I'm like, should I wait for El Al? Should I not wait for El Al? It's today. It's not even open yet. That hasn't even been resolved yet.
Mm.
So all these options were at the table. I was reading every possibility. People were send this application, fill this out, be on the American Embassy, chat, be on the Miami Jews chat, like South Florida community chat, be on the New York chat, like I was handling like 10 different chats at the same time, bombarded with information of how to get out or what people were doing and what was happening. So it was between that and the chats, the alarms and the sirens, and which building was falling, which building was okay, like,
Were
so
you feeling it near you at that point? Did you feel like it was coming closer and closer and closer? Did you experience seeing any of it, besides the sirens and stuff? Did you
well,
feel the rocking of buildings or anything like that?
no, no. I was literally in the basement of a stone building, so and I didn't go out to see the missiles like other people did. I didn't want to see it. It was too much for me. I didn't really want to see it. So for me, it was like the less I heard, the better. But that was
Yeah.
my way of protecting, because that's my way. I don't get expose myself to violent stuff, so I couldn't handle that. I can handle trauma after it happens. I don't have to put myself into the trauma in order to deal with it, in order to heal it. But I know that there were other places that I knew people, like there
Yeah.
were, Bat Yam had a building that collapsed, and I knew somebody there. That it's okay, she's okay. But
Yeah.
others, Beersheba and other points, and then in Tel Aviv, close to Tel Aviv, so my family in Tel Aviv and my friends in Tel Aviv, I kept checking, are you okay? Are you okay? They could hear it stronger than what I could. So it was more checking in with everybody, and everybody was, the streets were empty for a couple of weeks. I think people were going back
How
to
did you get food and stuff?
the hotel. I just ate hotel food all day long. That's all I ate. And and it's not like you have, I wasn't that hungry, because I had, like, my stomach was, turning all the
Yeah.
time. No, it was
Wow.
hotel
And
food.
then, so when you're getting all this information, what did you decide to do?
So I also went for a bar mitzvah, and my friend was in Jerusalem. I feel bad for her because the bar mitzvah didn't happen the way she wanted. And that was a whole group of people, like I think 20 people that came for the bar mitzvah. So I managed to escape with a taxi driver, an Arab taxi driver who was very friendly with me. And we became best friends because this was my way of, protecting. This is my survival skill. I become best friends with whomever, so I don't feel in danger. So I use some of my Arabic and some of my Hebrew and some of my whatever to talk to the taxi driver to get me to my friend's house, wait for me until I celebrated bar mitzvah, whatever, and then take
Oh,
me.
you're kidding.
So he would walk around and it's bring me back. Yeah. And then I brought him some food. from the bar mitzvah, so he would feel good as well. So I think these are survival skills that we develop in order to feel safe, in order to feel taken care of. He was super, super nice. We actually talked about how bad it was that Jews and Arabs and Israelis and Iranians are fighting with each other. So we gave each other a big hug. I think I even took a picture and say, I wish the whole world would do what we are doing now, like be friends and just care about each other. We don't care about like all these fights and all this violence. And that was very meaningful and that was very nice. So it made me feel good. Like these were little moments that were very special that made me feel really good that there's hope, for humanity.
Oh my God. So he waited for you outside of the bar mitzvah and then took you to where? What was your strategy? What did you
Back to the
decide to
hotel.
do
No,
for the
back to the
hotel?
hotel. Yeah. Same what happened, so same with my exit strategy, I ended up deciding to cross Jordan. So I was very fortunate that I had somebody that gave me a van that drove me all the way closer to the border with Jordan. I was with two other people. And when we get closer to the border, it was a lot of traffic. There were people trying to get out. It was a little bit hysterical at that moment. So we got out of the van with our luggage. We walked all the way to the border. In the border, we had to make a line. Then we waited and we got into some sort of terminal. Then we got to get our visas to enter Jordan. Then we had to like pay something, talk to somebody, check our bags, all kinds of things until we got to the other side. It was like a whole procedure and it was very stressful. Nothing like really, nothing bad was going to happen, but the level of stress was so high because anything could happen. They could say no.
I was going to say, were they turning people away at all? Did you see them turning?
Apparently, I heard, there were always texts and stories and things. I don't know
Yeah.
if they were fake news, real news. I don't know. But we were on the line. I mean, one strategy that I told my two other friends that were with me, I said, let's play the dumb American that doesn't want to know anything. Like, I didn't want to speak Hebrew, I didn't want to speak any other language, and just say, I'm just a tourist, I'm here, I want to get out, everything good. And that's how we played it a little bit, like not so much talking, like really low key. And we passed to the other side eventually, which
How
was,
long, how many hours? How many hours was that, would you say?
say 1 or 2 hours, and then on the other side, there was another van that was driven by Mohammed. That was my other good friend, this Jordanian guy. Really nice, really helpful. I also spoke with him, like, how are we doing? How we want to be friends? How we don't believe in this war, in like violence and it was so nice. So he took us through the desert for 2 or 3 hours. We were going alongside the West Bank, the Israel and the Jordan River and the West Bank, and then we were on the Jordanian side going along the desert. We got into the mountains, we went all the way up and then all the way down, and we got to Amman, which is the capital of Jordan. And finally we got there. We stopped even for Turkish coffee that he invited us. So nice, so nice, so nice. Really was very loving. And we got to Jordan. So I stayed in the hotel in Jordan. From my hotel also I could hear the sirens. I could see some of that stuff because it was, it passes over Jordan, some of this stuff.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, I was thinking, okay, at least I know that they're not aiming to Jordan, but I'm in the middle of it, I mean, it's over my head. And then I didn't want to get out of the hotel. The next day, we were taken to the airport. Also very nice. Everybody was very nice. In Jordan, everybody was very nice, I have to say.
did
Uh,
you feel the influx of people there? Did you feel like Jordan was, being inundated with people as one of
I
the
think
choice
I was
places to go?
Yeah, I think it was one of the first ones. So it
Yeah.
started to get a little busy, but I think in the days after I left, it became even more busy.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, they were, it was really incredible to fly Royal Jordanian Airlines. Everything was in Arabic. I mean, they were really nice. And people enjoyed,
Wow.
but it was a whole experience to be there as a Jew coming from Israel, flying Royal Jordanian and listening to everything in Arabic, and knowing that somehow I was gonna get to New York, and then I have the map of how they crossed. They avoided going over Israel. They didn't even call it Israel in the map. They say Jerusalem, Gaza, something like that. So they go around, and then they cross all the way to the United States. So pretty interesting.
When you describe it like that,
Hmm.
was there thought that you might be shot down? I mean, like a missile no, at that point you just
I
felt
think
safe enough.
Well, I was waiting for the airplane to leave the area because
Oh,
if there were some missiles. Like once we were like passing the Mediterranean, then I start feeling a little bit bad. When I really felt like a little more relaxed was when we landed in JFK,
duh.
and there was like a big flag from the United States, and I took a picture of my very sad face because I was crying a lot. I was like, I haven't slept, and I take a picture of myself and the flag, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the United States. Another sort of problems going on here, but at least not a war.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The ups and downs of emotions of feeling safe. I mean, how would you describe your overall experience?
So for me, it was traumatic in the sense that I've never experienced wars so close. Also, I think what affected me particularly the most was the feeling of being trapped, not being able to freely move around. Do I want to leave? Do I want to stay? Even during the pandemic, I had such freedom, being in Miami to do whatever I wanted. And for me, that's super important. So the sense of like paralyzation, being paralyzed and not being able to have freedom to choose, for me was very hard. I also was feeling the tension and the stress of everybody around. So that was also very hard. And people were getting more and more and more anxious, and the war was getting more and more intense. So those were the kind of things that I think contributed to me to my stress levels that got pretty high at some point. And then I didn't want to worry my family, but everybody was calling me. So one of the things that really helped me was the constant contact with people in Israel, in the United States, everywhere. Everybody was calling me, everybody was checking in. I was checking on everybody, and that constant connection was a blessing. Really, I'm so grateful that everybody was in touch. I mean, I was in touch with everyone. It was really, really helpful to know that there were so many people on top of this. Plus, the people in my group, we were all talking to each other, hugging each other. It was very nice in that sense. I was very blessed.
That is so fascinating that the way you just described that about being connected to people in such a war that when you're in bunker, it's so isolate can be so isolating. So
Yeah,
that's really it's such a dichotomy, you
yeah.
know. Did and this comes up for me, like I know you were in hotels or what have you, but with all the news that was going on, once, Israel did you feel that Iran, like the big one was gonna, like, did you ever have a thought like, this is it? They're gonna send the big one here?
No, no. Honestly,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was so focused on my everyday survival
Oh, wow.
that the big picture was not part of my narrative in that moment. It's fascinating. It's like I can't even handle like the world news on how or the politics. Or I'm so focused on what do I do today? How am I gonna sleep? Where do I have to run? Where am I gonna get my food? How am I gonna live here? How do I move around? Am I going to be able to do the things that I need to do? I mean, I needed to give a talk. I was giving a conference in the basement of the hotel also. It went really well. I was also worried about other people. So this was all happened. I was so in my immediate reality, and I was so
Mm,
present in every day, in every moment, that I didn't have a chance to really see the big picture. It's only now that I'm catching
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So here's the question, right? You articulated that very well. Now that you're back, is there a sense of letting go and then realizing kind of now what you were in? Because,
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating for me to come back and to see people's reactions. And I'm like, wow, it was that bad? Like, everybody's like, oh my God, I'm so happy you're alive. You can write a book about this. Thank God you're alive. I was praying for you. I lit a candle for you. And I'm like, really? Wow, this is bigger than what I thought. And now I can be on the other side seeing what people's reactions and what happened, and it got me more anxious. So really the first couple of days that I got back, I was very anxious. And then I was like, okay, I'm coming back to my body. I've gotten like some massage. I went into the ocean. I walked in the grass barefoot. I've been talking to my friends. I've called all my friends and told them to check on me, and everybody, including you, thank God, that have been so nice and so wonderful. So this is what has helped me. I mean, and I'm very conscious that I'm taking care of myself in a way that I need to come back to my baseline and not allow
yeah.
to build up.
Oh, I love what you just said about baseline because I'm listening to you and that sense of survival and compartmentalizing and not seeing what we were all seeing on the news, which made me call you and go, are you all right? Are you all right? Like you didn't even know how unall right you were
Yeah.
in a way. And then coming back, it's like we do go and survive, and then just releasing, like, I was in the middle of war, escaping for my life.
Yes, and at the same time, there's all these Israelis and all these Arabs and all these other people living there every day and not leaving, not going away. So I'm saying, okay, I'm just one of many that have gone through this, even one of many tourists that have gone through that. And it's not the end of the world, and at the same time it is. It's like such a dichotomy. It's such a I was telling my friends there, I was like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm in a schizophrenic state. Here I am saying mazel tov to my friend who's having a bar mitzvah in this little room, and at the same time, living in a bomb shelter, and at the same time going to eat and pretending that nothing's happening in a hotel, and at the same time listening to the sirens. It was such a dichotomy of things that's happening together. And I think this is the way Israelis live. I truly think that this is how they live, in this schizophrenic state. And they do it well. They do it with a lot of resilience. And Israel feels very protected and very protective. They have such a good system of protection. Everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows where to go. In some way, like they do it so well. So I was going along with that, and at the same time saying, "Oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy. I don't believe in war. I don't subscribe to war." I mean, I had to justify this to my family in some way and say, why did you even go to Israel in the first place? Some of them are questioning me. Why did I do this? And you pay a price. You pay a price for doing that.
Wow. Where is Adit now in her mind, body, spirit, soul? Probably getting other messages from friends in Israel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
So a part of me is extremely grateful. I'm so grateful every day. Every day I'm getting messages and people that are hugging me and kissing me and telling me, I'm so happy you're here. And I'm receiving all that love. I'm loving it. I'm taking care of myself. So I'm very grateful I can do that, and that I can have the safety to do that. It's amazing how much grounding is needed, and that I can have that. I'm very grateful. And also, I am having a feeling of, you know, struggling of like, yes, but I left a place that I could help. There are people that need help. There are people that need maybe some of my services or some of my,
Mm.
you know, anything that I can collaborate or do. So what I'm saying is like, what am I going to do now to continue the work that I always have done and to really help moving this along and doing my best. So I've been already contacting different people and following up with people that I've already talked to, and more than ever talking about post-traumatic growth, and see if we can move the dial to peace and to humanity and to connection, and really not to violence and to, making it worse for everybody. That's one thing. The other thing that I realized is that a lot of my reactions come from some of my inheritance of intergenerational trauma, because other people that were with me might have reacted differently. They were laughing at me, we were joking, because I was like, where's the water? Where is the water? I need water. I need food. I'm carrying stuff with me. I can't separate from my passport. I was thinking in a very warlike way, and I've never,
Wow.
yeah,
Like in the Holocaust.
like in the Holocaust. And I'm like, well, this is coming out. Some of this, I mean, my grandparents were refugees. My other grandparents were, concentration camp survivors. So I'm like, this is coming out in me. And because I thought everybody was reacting the same, but my friend there was not reacting like that. She was like, okay, we'll do this. I'm like, no, 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 we need water. We need food. So I would buy food, I water. Yes, I was already looking at like what exits I can go out from the building, looking at different, options. Yeah, I was thinking like that. Yeah, so I know that comes from my intergenerational inheritance.
Were you aware of that when you were asking for the water and thing? Were you hyper aware of that intergenerational?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a psychologist. Yes.
Exactly. That you go, I know where this is coming from, but I don't really care because I need my water
Yeah.
and I need my water now.
Yes.
Which
And
is very
that's why
much framing up
Yeah, but that's why
Holocaust.
we were joking about it. We were like, I'm saying, okay, we're joking, haha, this is who I am, and let's go get the water.
Before I have a panic attack,
Yeah,
or before the train is going to come together. I
exactly.
cannot even imagine
Yeah,
what that felt like.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, and that makes me even more aware that it's not just for me. Like it allowed me to appreciate when I work with people, like
Yeah.
take into account all the other traumas from the past, how they get triggered and how they get played out. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Adit, it's so incredible your story because on one hand, you were very much kind of like, you know, what's his name? Toll, Eckhart Tolle,
Uh-huh.
in the moment, be
Hmm.
in the moment. However, you've got the intergenerational thing, you got a war going on, and how does survival work in staying in the moment? So, like, you're right, it is a very schizophrenic because you can't put your mind or your body into one sensibility.
Yeah.
You have to kind of take in all the sensibilities that you're getting to survive.
Yeah. And even the struggle between, do I save myself or do I save others? Do I stay working here or providing help, or do
Or
I
get the hell out.
get the hell out? I mean, I'm out, but I'm sad that I left. Or I'm in here, but I'm like scared that I don't want to leave, that I should have left. Like this is
It's like
it's
survival guilt in a way, a little bit.
yeah, yeah, and the survivor's guilt, yeah, and the in a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
because that would bring in the intergenerational thing too, is that, I mean,
Yeah.
you weren't in the Holocaust, but your family was, and in a way you did survive what they couldn't, even though you weren't even born then, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here you have the opportunity, now being
Yeah.
alive, to save the ones that
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah, so what I repeat myself of my family that is there is to say, okay, they're used to it, they've
Yeah,
handled it, they've
yeah,
survived it already. Let me trust that this is the case one more time. This is not the first time that Israel is at war. We can handle it. It's just me that I was there, but this has happened so many other times. So I'm trusting that that the resilience of Israel is good and the resilience of the other people, and that the human beings that are suffering. And also, let's see if with this escalation of war, people become much more aware, like we don't need it. Like we can come back down to peace and we don't need to get to this extreme of violence. Like we don't need it.
that is very well said. Well, I, for one, am very happy to be speaking to you right now.
Me
And
too.
I'm truly amazed at your story. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to because I know you haven't been able to really process it, but this is going to help so many people there, here, family there, of how to deal with it. And so if anybody wants to get in touch with Adit because she's been through it and has family there, how can people reach out to you, Adit?
Yeah, you can go to my website, Dr. Edith Shiro, dr. Shiro. They can find me on Instagram, Dr. Edith Shiro, uh, Facebook. They can find, of course, my book, The Unexpected Gift of Trauma, which actually talks about a lot of these techniques and a lot of this process, pre and post. And really anywhere in social media I'm there, even in YouTube, and really writing on my website. There's even questionnaires that you can fill out, and there's all kinds of things that you can look for to be in touch and to talk about this. I'm running groups about it. I'm running groups with like parents of soldiers. I'm running groups on like people that are dealing with trauma. I'm training people. I'm supervising. So then, there's a lot to talk about in this and a lot to share and comment with each other. So I'm always open to hearing other people's stories and experiences.
Thank you so much. I wish you well and so grateful you're back on on ground.
Thank you for your friendship and for allowing me to process this. This is super helpful for me to talk like this. So thank you. You know how much I love you.
You too, sweetheart.